So let's go ahead and get started. Again, we're dealing today with digital editions and branded apps. And we're going to talk a little bit just regarding publishing in a mobile world right now, what exactly that means. And so one of the areas that to first of all cover is the fact that, with digital publishing now, it's not just producing a copy of your print magazine and putting it up on the web. What you're trying to do is you're trying to better the reader experience as a whole. And what we've done at Mirabel Technologies is we've decided that the best way to do that is to actually leverage a great system, which is the Digital Studio system. And with Digital Studio itself, and again, we're going to go into that a little bit more in that next webinar behind the scenes, but just to kind of show you the end result, kind of do a little back dance here, is that we want to make sure that they're optimized for the mobile world, because you want to get your periodical in as many hands of your customers as possible. And so how do we do that? Well, there's a couple of different ways. The first one that we'd like to talk about is the branded app. And you've probably heard a number of people talking about the branded app here at Mirabel. And the branded app itself is just relying on having your magazine in the Apple newsstand. And let's take a look at that and what that might look like. So if we go ahead and we take a look, hopefully we'll be able to see this okay. You should see on my screen here, this is just mirroring the iPad itself. And as we all know, Apple is not only fantastic to work with in regarding the marketing aspect, but everyone knows what an iPad is now in 2013. With the iPad itself being the #1 tablet worldwide, we wanted to go ahead and find a way to give you the most value add when it comes to creating a digital edition that is its own entity. And what I mean by that is actually including that within the Apple newsstand. We actually have the ability to add your periodical published through Digital Studio into the Apple newsstand itself as its own quote-unquote branded app. Now, what is a branded app? Well, the branded app itself is actually giving you the ability from a sales and marketing focus to place your periodical right on the newsstand itself. And the newsstand, as you can see here, you've got a number of different really nice magazines with Fortune as well as entertainment. We've got Sports Illustrated, of course we've got the Miami Design, Boca Life. And what's nice about this is that, it's really hard to put a price when it comes to actually showing that value of being kind of sandwiched in between some of these high-profile magazines. Okay? And what's nice about this, too, is that with the branded app is that you're going to be able to get a lot different functionality by being on the Apple newsstand. And what I mean by that is let's go ahead and we'll take a look at one of these periodicals. And so let's go ahead and take a look at the listing right here, Book Life. Just to kind of show you some of the options that are available to us here. I'm going to actually bring up this April issue. You'll see that what's really important is the reader experience, as I said beforehand. And so the reader experience itself is going to lend itself perfectly to a tablet. Now, one of the caveats I'd like to always stress about this is the fact that we have gone out of our way to make sure that we are optimizing for the tablet itself. But we also, as you'll see here in a little bit, have some additional options available to, even if it's just for the web-based users themselves that just want to see it on a PC or Mac. So for a branded app, though, it being an actual iPad-specific app, what you can do is you can actually see that the reading experience is superior when it comes to a tablet, but there's also a number of different options that are going to be available to you. And those options, you can see, slightly pressing there, is that we have an auto-hide function that's right there up at the very top. And the auto-hide function itself is, people are always asking, well, I can publish sometimes over here, but I'm running out of real estate. I have a lot of borders on one side, left margin, right margin. That again takes away from the reader experience, and we don't want that. We want to make sure that the reader is sitting there and enjoying your magazine and taking a look and actually having a reader experience just like they would if they had a book at the beach. So that auto hide, just by tapping again so that it shows up, there are a number of different options up top there. We have a home option, which will just kind of obviously get us back to the very beginning. We can click the cover, which will take us right back to the cover. We also have a TOC, and that TOC means table of contents. And you can see when you have the table of contents there at the bottom, you can actually scroll through different pages. And what's nice about this is that from an actual sales aspect is that imagine, you can bring your iPad into maybe a potential or current advertiser, and you can basically say, look how great this ad looks. Or let's say there's a potential prospect, and you'd say maybe have the advertiser kind of play around with this digital edition of yours and say, look at this. This is exactly what we can bring for you. Now remember what I said at the very beginning is the fact that you're not just in the business to just put a digital copy of your magazine up there. You want to try to engage your customer, right? And so one of the ways that you can actually utilize that is you can include multimedia. Let me just back up 1 second here. This multimedia option, we're going to come back to the share option here, but this multimedia is extremely important. The reason why this is important is the fact that, again, you're not just giving them a reading experience, but you're interacting with your client, with your customer. Okay? So within you leveraging the Digital Studio software, what we can do is that when you're actually optimizing and you're packaging your periodical to be published in this mobile space, you can include multimedia links. And what's nice about that is that just by tapping on the multimedia area from within the magazine, will actually take you directly to that multimedia and allow you to play that. You can't do that with a regular print magazine, but you can actually say, well, maybe I could leverage that advertiser and say, well, you know what, if we could actually put you down for this price for a year, but we could also maybe include some multimedia on that for this fee, or kind of sell that as part of the negotiation and contract. That's a really, really nice option. In addition to that, back up here, we have a share option. Now with share itself, as we all know from either our kids or from ourselves here, with sharing links or sharing certain pages, we can actually do that according to either the mail option. We can also share according to Facebook. And what's nice about this is that the actual sharing itself, you just choose Facebook as an option here, is that it will also include that hyperlink directly to that page and also give it as a thumbnail. So you're not just getting some long URL or web address out, but it'll actually put a direct link out there for your friends so that you can see and post it. Like, check this ad out. So the other options in there is you can actually share to Twitter, Pinterest, Tumblr, and also LinkedIn. Some of the other options that are available in here with the branded app is that we have something that we're very proud of. It's called a clip and share. And the clip and share option, by just tapping on the clip and share, you have the ability to move this small amount of area to maybe an exact portion of that article. You don't want to maybe send the entire article, or you don't want to send maybe the entire page out. Well, let's say that you want to just put this one little area in here, and you can actually press share. You have a nice little interface that comes up where you can, again, share by LinkedIn or Tumblr, Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, or mail that again. Again, there's some additional information here under More. You can obviously do bookmarks, but you can also set it according to the pages itself. You can move back to Home as well. It's a very, very slick interface. And again, you have the ability to have a paid subscription on this with the branded app. And the reason why I mention that is that through Apple itself, you can actually have that set up with a paid subscription. You can have a recurring paid subscription. There's several different ways that you can have that set up. Again, if you would like to look a little bit more into the branded app option, you can actually speak to your software consultant. But one of the things I wanted to leave you with prior to moving on from the branded app to some of our additional offerings here when it comes to the mobile setting is that with the branded app, you are getting superior reporting and analytics back. And what I mean by that is from a publisher standpoint, I'm able to take a look at some metrics such as subscriber data according to their products and issue. I can see exact page visits. I can see zip code information when it comes to pulling that metric out, and actually being able to perhaps have a campaign where you're focused on a certain demographic according to your readers. It's also nice to be able, from a sales standpoint, to go into a meeting and be able to say, well, this page right here, page 36, I had 1,500 views, or I had 3,500 views on this set, even for a potential prospect as well. Being able to kind of get this information back is also extremely beneficial from some of the other teams as well, not just from a publisher, but imagine what, from an editorial standpoint, you could do. From an editorial standpoint, you're able to actually gauge exactly, perhaps, some of the information that might make the most sense to engage your readers in the future. Maybe find a way for the table of contents to do some linking, being able to gauge just the response to some of that multimedia that's been embedded. And you can also, what's really nice is that not only when you're embedding that multimedia, by the way, you don't have to just put video. You can also put in maybe an MP3 or some audio in there, which is really nice, actually, to kind of set the mood. Let's say it's a nice, maybe your annual wedding issue or something. So with the branded app itself, again, the placement is important. Now, moving from the branded app, the other options here is that we were actually, we have the option to go through and publish some digital editions through our digital studio itself. And what's interesting about this is that you can actually go in, and even if you don't opt for this branded app, you can still publish and have your readers or have your prospects or advertisers actually take a look at your offerings out on our Magazine Central online store. So let's take a look at that. So you can still see with my screen as well here, and I'm going to actually move this down a little bit so we can actually see a little bit better. There we go. Is that we do have the opportunity to go out into the Magazine Central online store. And what that basically is that we have built an HTML5 reader. And what that is it's a web reader itself, meaning be it from the iPad here, where I can actually go out there and take a look at the reader. I can also go and go out to the reader itself via a PC, a Mac. I can go use this on any sort of a tablet, including an Android tablet. We'll also work on some of the other browsers. We've tested it on the new BlackBerry V10. It works very well on that. And so you can actually show your folks, here's some of the offerings that we have out there. Go ahead and visit the MaribelsMagazineCentral.com store, and you can actually take a look and kind of do the same sort of interaction that you had with the app that we were just showing you here. Some of those options are still available to you up there at the top. Go back to home here. You can actually take a look and view some of the other options in here. Again, the reading experience is paramount. That's the most important thing here. So we want to make sure that the readers kind of enjoy the fact that you are getting that reading experience, and you're not opting to have to rely on getting on a smartphone or some sort of a lower resolution device. Again, you can see that you do have the ability here to see the table of contents. Notice that the table of contents here, these are numbered. You have that 1C and 2C, meaning the front cover and back cover. Other than that, it's just following that same sort of sequential order. Now, in addition to the actual web version itself, keep in mind that some folks actually prefer to have their own iPad app of the Magazine Central. Okay, and what I mean by that, what the difference is between the actual branded app and the Magazine Central app is that you can go into the App Store and you can actually you can do this yourself right now if you have an iPad, and you can go ahead and go to the Apple App Store and just search for Magazine Central, and it's a free app. And this Magazine Central app will show up here, and again, very similar, consistent view. Unlike the branded app, though, is that although you do still have a lot of reports that you can leverage and obtain some metrics, including some views, etc., you do not have the same sort of access to the subscriber subscriber details according to product and issue that you do with the branded app. But with this, the same view itself, you can tell that again you have that option. You do need to be aware of the fact that you have the ability to actually store for offline use itself in the library. And what that offline content means is that you've already downloaded one of these issues. So if I download, and I have the opportunity here, it says Do you want to go ahead and download the entire issue before reading? If you do so, we'll go ahead and start a little progress bar. And again, assuming that you are on an internet connection itself, because that is paramount. But not only do you have this opportunity to use an actual free app that can include some of the offerings and some of the publications that you've gone through Digital Studio and published to, but let's say that some of your folks do not have an iPad. Let's say that they have an Android tablet. Well, that's not a problem because we also have the Magazine Central app for the Google Play Store, which is for your Android tablets. Now, one of the questions that has come up again, and I kind of referred to it a little bit earlier, but people have asked, well, do you have a smartphone offering? Do these options work for the smartphone? And the answer to that is actually no. And the reason being is that, remember, we're going back to that reader experience. So if you're actually, if you really want to show an advertiser your beautiful magazine with beautiful layouts and beautiful pictures as well as some of the advertisements in there, you don't want to limit yourself by actually just showing it on a smartphone. Just compared to an actual tablet or even from a PC or an actual Mac standpoint, you're not really doing yourself a great deal of service if you show it on an actual phone. So that is a reason why we're just focused on the tablet optimization as well as the web. Now, basically the Android app works the same way, except the Android app itself, again, is available in the Google Play Store for any of you Android tablet users. And also, we have the ability to put your published edition out on the Amazon App Store. And the Amazon App Store is different than the Google Play Store, and because it's only specific to Amazon Kindle users. The reason why we decided to actually focus on the Kindle as well, and almost keep it as sort of a dotted line according to the Google Play Store, is that the Amazon Kindle, again, is being sold, although it is a tablet, it is being sold primarily as the #1 e-reader in the world. And so if you do have an Amazon Kindle, or if you have a client that has an Amazon Kindle, you can always just have them go to their own unique Amazon App Store, download the Magazine Central Android app, and they'll be able to actually take a look at some of the offerings as well here on Magazine Central. Now, what's also nice to remember here is that just in case somebody does not want to actually deal with the apps, remember they can go directly to the reader, as we showed beforehand, going directly to the web itself. And so anywhere that there is an internet connection, you can get there. But it is nice to also just have their own app in there. Now, one of the other things to remember, too, is that you want to make sure that the reading experience itself, what's really, really important is to understand that what we're trying to do here is we're trying to make sure that this is a unique, crisp viewing experience. And by the way, I did want to also mention that it's important to also understand that those apps, which is really nice, is that from the Android standpoint as well as the Apple standpoint, they're free. So just to kind of get your feet wet in the publishing arena there, that's really nice to be able to offer them immediately. Okay, so the next thing we want to take a look at here is we want to go ahead and look at some of the offerings that are available to you by going into the Digital Studio area itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually close this area down, and I'm going to go back into our consultant site. Note that with the consultant site itself, the way that you are publishing is that you would be going in through Digital Studio, and keeping in mind with Digital Studio itself is that the next webinar will be exclusively dealing with the ins and outs and how to set up your magazine, including the pagination as well as your flat plan, and getting all of your assets together so that you can publish. But just to kind of give you a little bit of a tease here regarding what we're looking at, you should have the opportunity right now within your system to take a look at a fantastic Digital Studio tutorial, which will kind of get you prepped for the next webinar. But just to kind of show you where we're going at when you're ready to publish and what that looks like prior to getting all of these fantastic different offerings that we have here regarding the mobile space is that you can just simply log in, and we're just going to log into our consultant site here. And when you do have a publication that's ready to be published, and again, this is just a little test publication here, not exactly the greatest in regard to marketing right now for this one, but you can tell, again, it's just a test. But there's a publish area that's right up here at the very top. And from that publish itself, you will receive a confirmation saying that you're about to create digital editions. Now, there is a price that is connected to the creation of digital editions themselves. And you can always hit on that little link there, and it'll kind of show you the breakdown of what they cost, which also includes some of the archiving and stuff. If I wanted to go ahead and publish, it's very, very easy. The publishing itself is just relying on what the issue name is going to be. And again, this is the way it's going to be showing up by default on your online newsstand. What the actual product name is. And you definitely want to make sure and choose a category. And the category is important because when we were going in there for the actual Magazine Central, you can actually search for a specific periodical according to the category. And so when you put a category in, if you do have a medical magazine, you want to go ahead and choose medical, obviously. But you do have a number of different categories in there so that your client has a better idea, and it's a little bit easier for them to locate you when they do a search. Get your issue date in there. The description is extremely important as well. The description is going to be tied directly to that offering once it's published. And I'll explain what that magazine is. We have our content type as magazine, and we've got a subscription type in here, which is default to free. Always change that. Notice right here that, again, by default, it's going to publish to the online newsstand. And again, that's our Mirabelle's Magazine Central. This option right here will allow us to also package for mobile devices. And what that means is that will also allow us to get that same sort of offering to the mobile platform, which is what we want. You also will receive a URL, and this will be once you've published successfully and you receive the confirmation, you have the ability to view a web page where you can actually take you directly to the publication, or you can go ahead and copy that. And that will allow you to copy that and send that to a potential client or customer. And again, once you do that, you will publish. It will be available, and it's pretty instantaneous when it comes to being published and being available out there on the newsstand itself. Now, a couple things here, just to kind of go over in regards to the actual. What's really nice about not only with the branded app, but with some of the options available, just to kind of go through exactly what the differences between them are, is that remember that with the branded app, you're receiving on the Apple iPad newsstand, you get the capability of for basically a publisher to place your magazine on what's basically the world's most popular newsstand, it's the Apple newsstand. If you want to use the Magazine Central online newsstand, it's going to allow you as a publisher to provide your online digital edition for viewing, folks, or actually have complimentary issues out there, or setting up some subscriptions. You also have that Magazine Central app newsstand for the iPad, and that's for basically viewing the digital magazines on the iPad or, again, the iPad mini. We also have that Magazine Central app newsstand for the Android tablets and the Kindle. Remember, with the Android tablets themselves, it's available on the Google Play App Store for free, as well as for the Amazon App Store for the Kindle for free. Also briefly, remember that not only are your sales teams going to benefit from utilizing and actually leveraging mobile editions, but think about what you can do from just like a marketing standpoint. You know, you could even have like your sales folks can take a look at just from a customer engagement with some of you can insert hot links or multimedia into your periodicals. You can maybe work with them, maybe expanding advertising reach beyond what you currently have in the print world itself. and being able to kind of place multimedia or place video or other kind of multimedia such as music or MP3s, and being able to put that into the ad itself. So again, you're engaging your client and it's more of an interactive experience. And you also have those metrics that can be provided, and actually being able to have your sales folks go directly to that publisher or directly to that prospect and say, look, check this out. This page itself was seen 1,000 different times. This is what we can offer you. Also remember that when a salesperson itself, when you're sending the ability, as I just showed you, that URL, where you can actually say, yeah, here's a link directly to your digital edition. I mean, you could just say, hey, thanks a lot from a sales rep standpoint. Just wanted to let you know how that ad looks. And I'm so glad that you went digital with us. Here's a link directly to our magazine. And oh, by the way, if you'd like to, it does look so great. I would highly recommend this. Maybe there's a share on your Facebook page. Again, thinking outside the box. In addition, what you can do is you can actually have your advertiser share, maybe promote that ad. Like I said, you can maybe he or she could embed that into maybe a company email. And so basically, what happens is that you've made the salesperson not only have they engaged this advertiser and this publisher, but you're not just selling, which is not just doing one-to-one here in black and white. It's actually expanding their role in a marketing standpoint. This is basically in regards to not only from the sales team, but as I mentioned earlier, we're going to the editorial aspect itself. Editorial would definitely like to be specific in regarding the actual use of their articles or people profiles. I mean, think about it from a people profile standpoint, being able to have like a video of the actual interview, or maybe some snapshots or some of the highlights of an interview with, let's say, an athlete in the area or a politician. Maybe not a politician. Let's go with athlete. You can also, maybe from an editorial standpoint, look at it from maybe including like an expanded calendar of events. And there's so much that you can do just in regarding the social media sharing itself. Being able to have a social media presence is extremely important in 2013. If you don't have a presence right now on Facebook or being out on Twitter or some way that you know that your readers can actually engage with you and actually have a relationship with you instead of just waiting every month for their magazine to arrive, being able to kind of interact. Now, in addition, with the editorial, there are some specific analytics. So with the editors themselves, they'd be able to actually look at the articles receiving the highest amount of page views. This way, you can, if you think about it, you can actually look at it from a standpoint of, is our digital readership maybe, they're interested in something a little bit different than our print readership. Maybe which videos have been watched. Perhaps, what's getting the most, going back to social media, what gets the most shares and what gets the most Facebook shares. So as you can see, there's a number of different areas here which you can actually leverage using the digital editions and with the branded apps. Again, if you do have any further questions on this, I mean, please feel free to reach out to your software consultant. I highly recommend joining the webinar, our next webinar, which will be the in-depth view of Digital Studio itself. And in regards to any questions that you might have for the actual apps themselves, go ahead and if you do have the ability to, go to, you're on your PC right now after the webinar is over, feel free to visit the Mirabelle's MagazineCentral.com, which is actually our web presence. And then if you do have an iPad or an Android tablet, go ahead and visit the App Store or Google Play Store respectively. Do a search for Magazine Central and go ahead and take a look at the many offerings that we have here for our clients. Well, this will conclude today's branded apps and digital editions presentation. But if you do have any further questions, again, reach out to your software consultants. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon.